It is Sunday, the 14th of November, 2021, and I'm just starting up my protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of clergy abuse, especially the cover-up and denial of sex abuse of children by Unitarian Universalist ministers, Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, prominent Unitarian Universalist lay leaders. It is Remembrance Sunday in Great Britain. I'm not sure what the status is in terms of Canada, whether it's Remembrance Sunday today in Canada or not. However, we will keep with a Remembrance Day theme, and we shall be talking essentially about how Canadian soldiers fight and die in wars, particularly World War II, to protect democratic rights and freedoms, such as freedom of speech, amongst others, freedom to elect our political leaders and participate in the political process if we wish to. In fact, one of the principles of Unitarian Universalism affirms and promotes the use of the democratic process in Unitarian Universalist congregations and in society at large. Yet, Montreal Unitarians and Unitarian Universalist Association leaders have essentially, in a variety of different ways, tried to suppress the use of the democratic process in their attempts to cover up and deny clergy abuse, etc. Montreal Unitarians have repeatedly tried to suppress this very peaceful public protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, etc., outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal by calling in false complaints to the SPVM. And my protest has in fact been suppressed for a number of years as a result of essentially bogus, trumped up complaints to the police made by Montreal Unitarians. In addition to that, the Unitarian Universalist Association in 2012 had me served with a cease and desist demand letter that threatened to have me prosecuted for violating Canada's blasphemy law for allegedly, and I do say allegedly because it's simply not true, but here's the exact words. They accused me of making unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. They claimed that these allegedly unfounded and vicious allegations were unfounded and vicious, they absolutely were not unfounded. They were very well founded on newspaper reports about Unitarian Universalists who'd actually been charged, tried, and convicted of pedophilia and or rape and sentenced to jail terms and spent time in jail. One of them died in jail. The other was released after around 4 years in prison, which is a very light sentence, as far as I'm concerned, for repeatedly raping a teenage Tibetan refugee who he lured away from her family in India with promises of a better life in America. And when I say that, I don't mean he lured her by making false promises to her. I'm quite sure he made false promises to the family, to her parents, saying, look, if you give your daughter into my hands, I will take her to America and make sure she gets an education, and I will take good care of her, and so on and so forth. Well, she got an education, all right. She was used as a sex slave for several years before she was finally able to break away from his clutches. My understanding is that he acquired her, shall we say, when she was 16 years old, back in the early, I guess it would have been the late 80s. It would have been the late 1980s when he took her from her parents in India, brought her to Westboro, Massachusetts, where he was the minister, and proceeded to use her as a sex slave. And it's my understanding that he used her as a sex slave for a good number of years. Good day. I'm protesting against the Unitarian Universalist Association falsely accusing me of violating Canada's blasphemy law because they wanted to hide pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers and Sunday school teachers and so on. There's other issues too, but this one's quite serious.
That's weird. Where can I find more information?
If you just Google, you know, a Unitarian blasphemous libel or blasphemy law, you'll find it. My name's Robin Edgar. If you go on, I video these protests, so I explain what it's about when I'm doing that. So if you go on YouTube and search Unitarian Church of Montreal, you'll find videos that explain stuff. So
okay, well.
Anyway, that's not the only issue, but it's one of the most serious.
I'm visiting.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not stopping you from going in.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You can maybe even ask them what it's all about.
Exactly.
I'm sure they'd love it if you did that. Thanks for asking. Yeah. So this gentleman is doing what Unitarian Universalists are supposed to do. He's engaging in a free and responsible search for the truth and meaning of what's written on my picket signs. He saw the picket signs, which say Unitarian Universalists misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape, and he wanted to know what it was about. So I told him, and he wanted to know more information. He wanted to find out more about it beyond what I told him. So I told him, well, if you just Google, Unitarian Universalist blasphemous libel. If you look for me, I gave him my name. If you search Unitarian Church, protest, that kind of thing, you'll find actually quite a lot of stuff. So he did what Unitarian Universalists are supposed to do, and who knows what'll happen. He may read what I have to say. He might look at the YouTube videos, and he might realize that, oh my gosh, there's some serious problems with the Unitarian Universalist religious community when it comes to the cover-up and denial of...
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. I just got a nice thumbs up from the dog walker. I usually get quite positive responses from the public. Somebody there is looking at my unsafe sect ticket sign. Hello. So we're just going to have a quick look at the sign. I've only had my sign peed on once in all the years I've been protesting. Just want to make sure it didn't get peed on. Seems to be fine. So, oh crap. What's going on? Oh yeah, we're still recording. For a second I thought we'd lost the recording, but no, we're still going. So that's it. I've been protesting since 1998. Now, there were approximately 3 years where my protest was shut down completely because I had court, conditions preventing me from being near the Unitarian Church of Montreal. So you can knock 3 years off of whatever it is from May 1998 to November of 2021. But in all that time, there's only been one case where a dog has peed on my picket signs. I think I might even have video of that. So that's not a bad track record for dogs not peeing on my picket signs. And when the dog did pee on my picket signs, I joked about it. I thought he was like peeing on the naughty Unitarian Universalists who were, covering up clergy abuse and so on, to say nothing of actually committing it. So that's that. We shall continue to circulate here with our picket signs that do say Unitarian Universalists misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. I don't have a lot of freestanding picket signs this morning because it's a bit breezy and they were getting blown down. So I have one freestanding picket sign, which we saw, but I didn't put up any other ones because I don't want to be repeatedly picking them up, and after they got blown down by the wind. So hey, whoops, yeah. Alrighty. So, a few people showing up on this Remembrance Day Sunday. I think I might actually not protest all that long this morning. I may actually head over to a nearby cenotaph to see if there is any ceremony today. They might have had one last Sunday, but I don't know one way or the other. I basically couldn't find anything about, Remembrance Sunday ceremonies. I think those chances are pretty good. I'm not sure why Canada would have its, Remembrance Sunday ceremonies a week earlier than Great Britain. So we shall see. So yeah, on the theme of Remembrance Day, like I said, Canadian soldiers have, fought tooth and nail in World War II at minimum and other wars to essentially preserve, protect democratic rights and freedoms, freedom of speech. And unfortunately, when it comes to freedom of speech, Montreal Unitarians, the Unitarian Universalist Association, SPVM police officers, Quebec Crown prosecutors, a couple of Quebec court judges have unfortunately suppressed this peaceful public protest. As I just mentioned, this protest has been suppressed for 3 years, all told, possibly a little longer. Somewhere between 3 and 4 years, not as much as 4, but almost certainly a little over 3 years of suppression of this protest. And this results from Montreal Unitarians bringing trumped up criminal accusations against me, claiming to fear for their safety and so on, when in fact I've been very, very peaceful. Nobody's been threatened or physically injured, other than a cut lip that somebody got when he was assaulting me, and that was a result of his own actions. So yeah, the worst physical injury that any Montreal Unitarian has ever suffered as a result of this protest is a cut lip suffered by Montreal Unitarian child sex abuse cover-up enabler David Horan. And that is on video. You can go watch it if you want. The video, just search for David Horan, that's Horan, Unitarian, and you will find the video, and you will see how he's assaulting me. And at a certain point, he shoves the lower part of his face into my camera. I think he wanted to block the camera with the lower part of his face, because I think he wanted his two hands free. That was my immediate assessment. When he did that, I was very surprised. And I thought, why is he doing this? Very quickly. And I thought, he might because he wants to punch me with both hands, or something like that. So what I did is I just stopped walking backwards, and his face pressed into the front of the camera much more than he was expecting, because he expected me to continue walking backwards, obviously. I just stopped. So his own momentum caused the camera to press into his face, as I said, quite significantly. And then he very stupidly ripped his face away from the camera. Instead of just stopping walking, he quite violently ripped his face away from the front of the lens. And I think at that point he cut his lip. So essentially he got a cut lip as a result of his own stupidity. I didn't really cause that cut lip. Ultimately because I stopped walking backwards, but essentially it was, 90%, if not more, his fault that happened. And that's it. That's the worst physical injury that anyone has ever suffered at the Unitarian Church of Montreal in terms of my protest. And I was essentially defending myself against an assault by David Horan. So anyhow, That's interesting. Somebody doesn't want to park their bike there. So, we got some people showing up here. And I think I recognize somebody here. Looks like, yes, it does look like Marlowe, the president of the board of the Unitarian Church in Montreal. And it's quite ironic because Marlowe is quite involved with defund the police issues, and yet she has directly involved herself with calling in complaints to the police to try to get this protest shut down. So a little bit of hypocrisy on the part of Marlowe. I'm trying to think. So it's Marlowe, what's her last name? I'm trying to remember it. I sometimes get confused with Margot Ellis and Marlowe. Anyway, it's like a hyphenated family name that I'm having some difficulty dredging up from the memory banks right now. Marlowe Thomas, something or other. Whoops. Somebody's entering here. I think it's Marlowe Thomas Kennedy, perhaps, but I'm not sure about that. I'd have to double check. But anyway, regardless of her family name, her first name, her so-called Christian name is Marlowe, and she has repeatedly involved herself in efforts to suppress this protest. And even if she hadn't done that, she certainly ignored it for a long, long time. She's been a member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal for quite some time now, and has never done anything to try to resolve the dispute. So, one of these many Montreal Unitarians who are in one way or another not only passively complicit in the cover-up and